Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Exciting announcement for all of my listeners. I've officially opened my exclusive group, the ProjectME Passive Income Posse, to the public. This group is by application only, so we can keep the group high vibe and spend our time, energy, and expertise only helping those of you who truly want massive success and impact. You get live weekly trainings from me, special guest coaches, and direct access to me and my business partner for all of your questions. To learn more and apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com, click on Work With Me, and select ProjectME Posse. And of course, any questions, feel free to DM me at ProjectME with Tiffany. Welcome to the podcast and posse, ProjectME with Tiffany Carter. I'm your host, Tiffany, and today I brought on a popular mom blogger for you. She is an author and a mom of three, and she has turned her actual life into a profitable business. So you may have heard of her. I'm going to mess up her last name, so I'm going to pronounce it really slowly so I don't look stupid. But her name is Lauren Jumruko. Did I get that right, Lauren?
You did. That's
awesome.
My
God, that was hard. Her last name used to be Jones, by the way. I'm like, why couldn't it be now? Her book that just came out in August is They Say Not Your Average Parenting Book. And she uses her own unique style and take on parenting and all the stuff that she's seen out there on social media and keeps it really real and has turned it into an actual brand. So I'm so excited to have you on because it's an inspiration for other moms and other people to see, like, you don't have to come up with some like grand, crazy idea. You can actually use your own life and turn that into a brand in of itself, right?
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. That's exactly what I did.
So what inspired you to first off, start your blog, which by the way, you guys, it's theysayparenting.com. So what inspired you to even start it?
Well, it was really becoming a parent myself. And I have three children, but even with the first, there's a lot of things you don't expect. It was difficult, and I thought a lot of it would come natural, and it did, but there were a lot of tough spots, and I had a lot of emotions, obviously wonderful ones, but also a lot of difficult ones as well. And at that time, I was a school counselor, so I was working, and it became a point where I decided it would make more sense to stay home with the kids. And so we did that, and I just really felt the passion of kind of sharing the things I was experiencing in the hopes of possibly helping another parent out there. I thought I must not be alone in these feelings. And I just had this, I just have always wanted to help others. So staying home and kind of doing nothing, I just really wanted to kind of turn it in to something more. So I decided to start writing a book, and I really started journaling at first. And I just put out my real experiences, my real feelings, kind of noted those all down. And then I thought, you know what, I want to share it. I wanted to share it in the form of a blog and also a book. And so I kind of started pitching that book and started blogging around the same time. And I thought that it would be two different ways to reach other parents, just so that hopefully somebody else out there could see they aren't alone in this.
Given all of the mommy blogs they're out there, there's a crap ton of parenting books. And I love that you didn't let that stop you. And even in a market that a lot of people would tell themselves is saturated, everything has been covered, you actually found a hole in the market. So what's the hole that you saw out there, and how did you discover it?
So I had actually, when I was pregnant with my first child, I went to the bookstores. I was looking for parenting books. I struggled actually to find one that I thought would be great. I think I ended up with like a medical encyclopedia, and it was walking me through, birth through age 10 and all the things that could happen. And I didn't even touch it, to be honest. But I felt like something that was missing was the emotional part of being a parent. There are a lot of guidebooks out there, and it talks about things like baby blues and, postpartum depression and all of these items. But what I thought was lacking was a lot of the true experiences and what that's like and what these feelings are like, and what really to expect on the emotional side. So I thought, I'm going to write a book that I really thought I needed. I'm going to put out there the things I experienced and what I hope to know as a new parent. And I am going to give it a try and see if maybe it's something that somebody might be interested in.
So when did you realize on your blog, with sharing your experiences, seeing the hole in the market, writing about it, providing other moms, what the material that you wish you could have found that you were looking for, at what point did you realize, okay, I have something here, like people are really needing this, people want this?
I honestly wasn't sure what would happen when I started it, and it was a little, fearful to put myself out there. But really, when I started getting onto social media and kind of starting to develop my brand, different posts, people were really connecting with them. Moms were commenting and they were saying, wow, I feel the same way. Started with the blog and I started with a lot of just my true feelings, my true experiences, and other people were commenting and saying, hey, I feel that way too. Thank you so much for sharing it. And as they said that, I also felt less alone. So I think just kind of hearing from them and hearing that, hey, yes, this is something I've also experienced and something that I love hearing, so I don't feel alone. It really encouraged me to move forward and keep pushing in that area.
There are a lot of people who have blogs that are out there, as we know. I mean, there's millions of blogs from, fashion to skin to parenting, anything, you name it. But there's only a small percentage of them that actually gain any views, any traction, especially even people commenting. What do you think it is about your blog that you're able to garner, a solid amount of attention and engagement among the sea of all the mommy bloggers out there?
I think it's the emotional side of it, that I have truly put myself out there. I, talk about real experiences that I've faced, and I don't hold back at all. I'm very honest, and if I'm upset one day or I've had a hard day, I start writing, and it's kind of like a form of therapy for me. But I put it out there, and I think that when others see that I am being so raw and I am putting it out there, they may connect with that as well. And I think that it encourages them to respond and to say, hey, I've been there too. So I think it can be like healing to write it. And also I almost think it could be healing to hear it, because you see you're not alone. And again, like I feel the same way when somebody responds to me saying, hey, I've been there, here's my story. And it really just helps me feel okay too. Like I'm not alone in this. So yeah, I think it's just really just putting myself out there and being open and honest. And sometimes we don't do that, even in friend groups. I think sometimes it's hard to really be completely honest, because you might be kind of scared that somebody else might not agree, or that they might think that you're not a good mother or that you're dumb, So I think it's hard sometimes to put it out there. But when somebody does, I think you can really relate to that. And, it kind of forms a connection, I think.
And this is such an important lesson, you guys, because I hear time and time again from people, this industry is oversaturated. So many other people have done it. I don't have all these like credentials and accolades. And I mean, my guess is it's not like you're a psychotherapist, correct?
Right.
You are
right,
simply a mom of 3 who saw a hole in the market of something you were craving, and you made a choice to create it for others And in turn, you actually created something you needed for yourself, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I talk a lot about, not listening to what they say. I think that obviously we can value, what our pediatrician says, but there is a lot of advice out there. And, a lot of the advice, it doesn't come from, a expert per se. Some of it does. But there's a lot, like, as you said, there's a lot of blogs out there. There's a lot of content out there. It all differs. And, it's hard to know what is right. And I think the reason behind that is because there is not a right way. There is no right way. So whether you are an expert or you are not, we're all parents. Those of us who have kids, and we just kind of have to do what we think is right in the end, because everything's conflicting. There's no answer. There's not just one way of doing things, that we know I need to follow this. This is exactly what I need to do. I think that too leads to us questioning ourselves as well. So no matter if you are an expert or if you aren't, if you are a psychologist or a psychotherapist or just a regular mom, I think we all question ourselves. And I think we can all relate to that feeling of not knowing what exactly is the right thing to do.
Because she got down to that core raw emotion, which is that human emotion of wanting to be seen, understood, and heard. And what group, more than any other group I can think of, that lacks in that area are moms. Truly. Most all mom. I don't know any mom that feels seen, heard, understood, appreciated, valued, validated all the time. It's the most underappreciated achievement of someone's life. And so you found that hole and you zoned in on that pain point, but you did it with authenticity. You weren't like, oh, I'm a marketer and I'm going to go after this pain point. It was a pain point you had within you, and you made the choice to be brave and vulnerable enough to put that out there and to be that person for other women. And that's why I feel you've had like such great success. My guess is you didn't put some like big press or advertising campaign behind your brand, did you?
No, I didn't. I really did a lot of marketing on my own, and just kind of started it that way. And I feel like the fear part of it, when you're scared to put yourself out there. I actually was watching a Hallmark movie the other day, and there was a great quote, and it was, "The fear may not go away. You just may have to do it scared." And I feel like that is where, it's scary to put yourself out there, and it's scary to share these experiences, feeling lonely as a parent, what you were saying before, it feels lonely. It feels like no one understands, you're with 3 little people all day or however many, and you are never alone, but you still somehow feel alone. And, sometimes it's hard to share with other people exactly what that means. So I think in actually trying and just talking about those feelings, talking about the experiences, getting past that fear and sharing it, I think we can all connect, and I think we'll feel a little more understood. I think it will really help lots of moms out there to really get it out and talk about it and see they are not alone.
What propelled you to really put it out there? Because it's one thing to be craving something and you don't see it at Barnes and Noble. You don't see it on Amazon. You don't see it, in mommy groups, and you wish it existed. There's lots of things I wish existed in terms of like inventions. Like you get like a good glass of Cabernet in me, and I'm like, this should exist, and it's like, and then right. 2 years later, someone's invented it and is like a billionaire. But there's a big difference between thinking about doing it and putting yourself out there and creating a blog and a brand and now a published author and actually doing it. So what got you to actually do it? Because you have every excuse in the world not to. You have 3 kids. Like everyone would give you a pass, right? It'd be like, right? It'd be okay if you didn't. So what made you actually do it?
So I think, first off, it really did start out as that kind of like a joke I caught myself saying all the time. They say, they say you need to do this. I was telling my parents, like, they say do it this way. They say do this. Or they'll ask, why are you doing it this way? Well, they said so. Well, who is they? And it became, something that was ever present. And I was like, who is they? Who is this they anyway? And, all they do is make us feel guilty because they're telling us we're doing it wrong. It's kind of, so that kind of came, was a big part of it. But they made me feel a lot of guilt. And I really struggled with the guilt because I always felt like I just wasn't adding up. I wasn't giving enough. I was doing it wrong. Other people seem to be doing it the right way and everybody seems to be happy. Their kids seem to be happy. I'm making mistakes. Like, it just made me feel bad, to be honest. I think so that's one part of it. Another part of it is I've just kind of always had this, I just have been a go-getter. And when I feel like, I want to, there's an area that's missing, or maybe there's something that I want to accomplish, I go for it. So even when I was young, I had a job at a auto sound system store, and I installed car radios sometimes, and I sold car stereo systems. And that time it was very male dominated, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do this because I'm going to prove it to myself that I can. So I think that I've always had kind of a drive. And the other part of it, as a school counselor, I'm very focused on feelings. And, it's very healing to talk about our feelings. And I'm encouraging, the students who I've worked with to talk about their feelings and really put it out there. And when they share, they feel better. When I share, I feel better. So all of those three things together, I think kind of created a perfect storm in a way, where I just really wanted to encourage others to share their feelings, to help others see that they are not alone in their feelings. I think that in seeing that we aren't alone, it can give us that confidence. And in the end, it can get rid of some of that guilt. And I think that when we are feeling guilty and when we are feeling down about ourselves, it actually is kind of like a cycle. It makes us parent less. It makes us feel like we're not as good parents. And then in turn, we're feeling down and we're not being as good of parents. So I just thought if there was a way that I could kind of put it out there, and we could all, anybody who does want to connect, even if it was a small number of people, maybe together we could kind of move past this and decrease some of that guilt and get out some of those feelings and feel less alone, if that makes sense.
Totally. And what I love is your main focus was serving your person, was serving the moms that, feel alone and unheard and unseen and unvalidated. You've never once mentioned making money or cash. And not that there's anything wrong with this. I want you to make major cash off your brand. Mm-hmm. But the key is you focused on the people first. You focused on serving first. And that's where the best brands are born. You weren't focused on how can I make money off these people? Right? Right.
Exactly. So that's kind of where, my marketing strategy per se, it's really just about, am I connecting with others? It's not about the money. It's not about the business. It's about making genuine connections, with others. And I feel like that's also led to growth because when I am truly just wanting to connect with others and, help others feel better, genuinely trying to form connections with others, it's huge. And, it makes my heart happy. I think it makes their heart happy. It's like a win-win. You talk about success, what is success? People can define it different ways. Some people think it is to make money. Some people think it is to feel good. Some people, I personally find success in feeling like I am making a difference or helping somebody. It makes me feel good. And that's kind of what I've been going for. And I think it's worked out nice.
Well, very clearly. You guys, if you don't already follow Lauren, and I'm not going to try to say your last name again because I just don't have it in me at the moment. But I want you to follow her on Instagram. That's her primary platform. She's on Facebook too, but it's at They Say Parenting, just like her blog is theysayparenting.com. I want you guys, even if you're not her ideal client, like if you're not a mom, that's beside the point. I just want you to see what she's done so you can see it's possible suitable for you. Replace being, a mom and wanting to do that. Replace it with something else in your life. Just like with my business coaching, I saw a hole in the market. Are there a lot of business and success coaches and money coaches? Yes, there are. But what the hole I saw is there was no one who was willing to be blunt and share the shit and share the shining moments and to just be really clear, raw, and real. Very similar to what you've done, just in a different genre. And I saw that hole and I was sick of it. It pissed me off. It irritated me. It made me feel, and I knew it made other people feel like less than, like, God, all these people are like making six figures, overnight online, and they're, traveling all over the world. And, what am I doing wrong? And it made me angry because the full story wasn't being told. And that's the same for you. There were stories being told, but not that, so to speak, I don't know if you want to call it dark side. I don't know if that's probably not the right term, but that other side of parenting, the lonely side, the isolating side, the side that people don't share about because they don't want to be judged by other moms, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I love your podcast, and I have found so many things that we relate on, and absolutely just finding that one piece that's missing, it's not there. I don't have access to this piece. I'm struggling, but I feel alone in it. I can't talk about it. Can't get help really. I just felt kind of closed down. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try. I'm gonna put myself out there and see how it goes. And I know, just kind of in listening to what you have created, a lot of the things you talk about, I feel like I can really relate on. I know recently you talked about kind of what they say, kind of like my book. And you had said they are the evil community in our brain.
Yes,
and I loved it. I mean, because it's whether what we see, what we're reading, what we're seeing on social media, all these things are being thrown at us, and we're just kind of left to deal with it. It's almost like there is a vicious cycle, and everyone's saying what we should do, and we're stuck in the middle, and we're feeling like crap because we don't know what the right thing to do is. But I think the more we talk about it, we fill those holes and we put the information out there, I think the better that we can navigate this whole world and feel better about ourselves and about what we're doing, whether it be as a parent, like you said, whether it be as just a person in general. These are ideas that apply. We don't have to always listen to what they say. What they say isn't always right. What they say doesn't make us wrong, And that one too, I really love this. So I know I keep talking about it, but you said it's really none of our business what other people think about us, and that I think is huge as well. Whether you're a parent or whether you're not, people are saying things, you are doing something one way, somebody else is doing it another way, whether it's, how you feed your baby, or whether it is how you put your baby to sleep at night, how you discipline, or whether it's just in general life, like what you choose to do for a career, or how much you decide to share on social media. I mean, it's anything, somebody has an opinion about it. And I just think the more that, we talk about it, fill in the gaps, and kind of put it out there, the more it kind of normalizes everything. And, we can all kind of be more confident in being ourselves.
Why do you think, let me rephrase that. What do you think is attributed to your rather fast success on Instagram? I mean, I'm looking on her Instagram right now. Like I said, it's at They Say Parenting. You only have 276 posts, yet you have an extremely high engaged following, like extremely high. What do you attribute this to? Is it consistency? Is it your raw honesty? What do you think it is?
Thank you so much, first off. But also I do think that it comes down to kind of being honest and my goals, which is really to connect with others. Because I do try to, when I post, I want my posts to be genuine. I want them to reflect the truth of how I'm feeling. I like to kind of share things that have worked for me. But also I try to just be genuine and kind of put it out there so others don't feel like they are alone. So I feel like when I put it out there, others see that, and then they're more inclined to kind of communicate back. And at first, when I started, I was kind of looking at, the insights a lot, and, what's the best time to post, or, how many people are seeing this post? There's all kinds of information out there, demographics, but at some point I just kind of stopped, and I just continued connecting. And, I love to talk with people on DM. I love to respond to comments. I always respond to comments, but that's because I truly want to form these genuine relationships. I think that it benefits both people in the relationship, and I think we can all grow together. So I honestly think it's just kind of just focusing on being genuine, being open, and actually genuinely wanting to form connections with other people. I think that comes across.
Yeah. And, also what I noticed that you do, because nothing trumps like great content. You can use all sorts of different strategies that I have many podcast episodes on, you guys. But if your content is like #basic and it's not connecting to that person you're targeting, or if the person you're targeting is just like, it's too broad, like I love how it's not really clear necessarily from your bio what type of mom you're targeting, but in your content, it's very clear. It's like parenting made real. Like, we're keeping this shit real AF, moms. Like, your stuff's so funny. Like, I love, she talks about like blowouts. She talks about like frantically wrapping gifts, like in the car with like one hand, and the gift looks crazy. Meanwhile, then you go into a party and then there's like the stack of the presents. Listen, I'm not like a human mom, but I've been to enough of these parties, and I can't wrap for shit. And so then you go in, and then there's these like, you see this like table of all the gifts, and they're like perfectly wrapped with like custom bows, and your gift is like mangled, and it's like, right. What? And it doesn't make you feel good about yourself. It's like, oh my God, like, how do these moms have time to wrap? First off, they probably paid for wrapping, but it's like, who even has time to do that? Like, I remember there was this lady at the gym, and she was talking, and there's all these gym conversations in the locker room, because my gym has a daycare, and I'm all about this life, moms, where it's like they take advantage of that daycare. And I think it's a 2.5 or 3 hour max. You can have your kids in there. Well, they're not working out that whole time. They might do like a yoga class, and then they like chill in the locker room. And I love it, because I'm like all about that. And like, and they had to like change the policy that you can't leave the premises, because moms were like leaving to go to Target. It was hysterical. Anyway, that's awesome. I know. I was like, I would have totally done that, because they're in good hands, but you're not allowed to leave the premises for their insurance. Anyway, so I overhear a lot of these conversations, and this mom was going on and on about like her child has never had store-bought baby food.
Oh, yeah.
And was making a point and went on a whole grandstand about what preservatives are in there, and the amount of sugar, and how that affects their gut and their brain health. And I could just feel the weight of these other women, even though I wasn't involved in the conversation, the weight of guilt, of self-shame, of even hatred towards other women was so high. And I was like, you know what? If I were in their shoes, and I like, got in my car to leave with my kid, or I was headed to the grocery store to go buy store-bought baby food, I would be like, oh my God, like, I'm a horrible person. Like, instead of watching Netflix at night, I could be pureeing baby food. Like, it would mess with me.
Right. And it does. And I think that's like a huge part of why I want to talk about it. There's so much shame, and it creates so much guilt. Baby food, great if you are creating your own baby food. That's wonderful. But also, if you're buying store-bought, that's wonderful. We're all feeding our kids. There's pros and cons to both. So I do try to talk a lot about that. These things that we do, and, we all do them differently, whether you pay to have your gift wrapped, or whether you wrap it in the car. You know what? We're both still providing our child with that social opportunity. We're both still providing a gift. It doesn't really matter about how you go about doing it. And there's always positives either way, but it seems like a lot of times people get jumped on because of the way they're doing something. And I think that it stems a lot from feeling like because somebody else is doing it different than us, that we are wrong, that we're doing it wrong. But that's not the truth at all. The fact is everybody is doing it right because it's the way they feel works for them and for their family. So if we could kind of get rid of that feeling of guilt, like it's okay if we're doing things differently than other people, it doesn't make us wrong. It doesn't need to make us feel bad. So that's a huge piece of the things I share is just like, honestly, how I do things, but I point out that, hey, there's so many ways we can do this. And it's important that we support each other, stand strong together as women, as parents, build each other up instead of tearing each other down. So I think that my brand is really heavily focused on just like supporting each other no matter what decision that you do. And there is no one right way. You could feel confident in the decisions you make because every family's different, and even in the one meme I shared about the rapping, people were commenting just like immediately, like, me too, that's me, I'm your people, and I just think that when you kind of put out things like that might not be like, when it's not perfect, it's not the best way of doing it per se. But guess what? A lot of us are doing it that way and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, hey, it's okay if I'm not perfect because guess what? There's no such thing as perfect. It's impossible.
So what is one post, whether it's a blog post or a social media post, that before you hit publish, you were like, oh my God, like this is hardcore vulnerable. Like I'm kind of nervous about it.
I feel, in the beginning, I was very fearful of posting, even my first post, I talk about how, being a parent is about finding a balance and we make mistakes and, even in our mistakes, we teach. So I talk a lot about the mistakes I make and I put them out there. But I don't think it's a bad thing to make mistakes. But I specifically remember when my last child was born, it was right when I was starting my blog. Really, it's kind of funny. She was like next to me for a lot of the editing of the book and all the blog posts. And I'm just looking at her sleeping next to me. And, there were days where I felt like I was rock bottom. Like I was crying. I was holding her, trying to put her to sleep and I was in tears. And then I felt guilty. Like, why am I not so happy? I have this beautiful baby in my arms and I'm crying because, I'm not able to get her to go to sleep or, those kinds of things. So in those moments, I actually started writing. I'd grab my phone and I'd start, writing out exactly how I was feeling. That I'm sitting here crying and this is why the day was hard. And I put that out there into the world and it's there, you can't really take it back. But I think that those posts have been very difficult to share, but also I think that they've gotten the most, interaction because I think other people feel like they're not alone because they've had similar experiences. So again, it kind of, in the end, I think it helps all of us in a way because we're all kind of relating and, it really normalizes those feelings, I think.
A lot of people are starting to understand, like, if I really want to make that connection and help the most people, I need to be more transparent, more raw, more vulnerable online. But they are afraid of what they might say, right. Meaning family, significant other, friends, that you're going to get haters and people, writing nasty comments. Have you had any people do that? Have you had haters? Have you had nasty moms or anyone in your family going, I think you're like oversharing, or any kind of backlash?
That is definitely something that is in my mind. And, I'll be honest, I'm human. I worry about that. I don't want to offend anybody or, I do think about the way what other people are thinking. I think it's human. But I honestly, the support has been overwhelming. It really overshadows those few situations where somebody has said something. And I'm actually really surprised that I haven't gotten a ton of it. I know some's to be expected, but, and my family as well. I thought maybe in my book sharing so much, I mean, my husband kind of put our entire life out there on paper, even my parents, but they actually haven't said like that's too much. So I'm thankful for that, but I think it is because they agree that it can help others by sharing it. I also think that they agree that nobody's perfect and that even if we share our mistakes, that's okay, because nobody's a perfect human. But, I do get those moments, and, I just think that it is, the benefits of sharing, I think, overweigh it. And I try to share all the good moments too. Like, I would probably call my page and my blog inconsistent, if you will, because one day I'll share that, oh my gosh, today is a horrible day. This is how I'm feeling. But then the next day I'm like, oh, children see magic. There's just, it's so different, but that's real life. Like, every day is different. Some days, you have a great day and things are going really well. And some days it's like tantrum and meltdown, one after the other. The kids are melting down, then I'm melting down, but I think that as I share these things, when other people relate to them, it also makes me not worry so much about those negative comments, because the other comments far outweigh those few things.
I love that take. So for people listening who feel they have a book in them, a book, a blog, I can, they can listen to other episodes and learn how to start a blog, right? And some of the best practices, and you shared some, which I appreciate. But in terms of a book, that can seem like major tasks. Like, people can make that in their head, including me, seem like, oh my God, that's going to take all my time and so much work. I guess take us through some of that process. I mean, so you actually you pitched publishers to get this published. Is that the route you took?
Yes, I did. And I think for the book, once I had it in my mind that I was going to write it, and I wrote it during nap time. It took me about 3 years to write it and about another year to edit and publish. But once I had it in my mind and I started doing it, it kind of just flowed. And that's why I knew it was right. So I feel like if somebody has it in their mind that they want to write a book or they want to get some piece of information out there, I say go for it, because it's something that you're passionate about. It's going to come out. You can make it happen. And in the beginning, I thought, you know what, I'm going to write this no matter what happens. Honestly, I thought if I could publish this and if I could give it to my kids one day, then great. You know what? I accomplished writing this book and I got it out there, even if it just helps my own kids. And then it was even if it helps one other person, so I went in saying, you know what, if I have to self-publish, I'm going to self-publish. And I was fine with that. So I did, once the book was done and I felt pretty good about it, I did start pitching, met with a few different publishers, a few different types of publishers, and, and found a perfect fit. And I felt very lucky. But at each stage, the next stage seemed like it was so far away. Like, how am I going to get to that stage? But you just keep moving. You follow your passion and, you share your book, you hope for the best. And then it really came together. So it was an amazing experience. And I think whatever method I took to get there and to get it published, I think it would have been a huge accomplishment. So I encourage anybody who is thinking about writing to do it, because there's a reason that that's placed on your heart. There's a reason that you want to get that out into the world. And, whether it helps one person or whether it helps hundreds or thousands or millions, it still makes a difference. And, in the beginning, I didn't think it was possible, to be honest, but it happened. So don't question yourself. Don't let what they say get to you or what you read about the chances get to you. Just kind of go with it and take it one step at a time and give it your best shot.
I mean, did you have any knowledge how to land a book deal prior to doing it, or did you use Google University?
I had zero knowledge. I used Google University. I did a lot of Googling. I Googled, which publishers are accepting queries. I Googled what is a query. I talked to anybody and anyone I had known that had published a book or other bloggers out there. Just anybody, asking friends, like, do you know anybody who's published a book? Just kind of, putting the feelers out there. I had no clue how to do it at all, but still, put the effort in, and, I found a way, and it worked out, and it was worth it.
Well, and you asked, right? She
Yes.
researched herself, but then she reached out. She asked other people. She kept asking, kept researching until she found a path, and then took the action to try the path. And I'm sure you got no's or you got blown off several times. You had to have, right?
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. And that's the other thing. You can't really let that get to you either. And the first no was, I felt horrible. I was like, oh no, what if all this, it's not good, or what if it's not, enough, or what if I, did all this for nothing? You question yourself. I think it's human nature. But then I got back to my purpose and reminded myself why I was doing it. Kept being positive. I don't want to let that negative thinking, in, and kept going. And then actually, once you get past that first no, or once you get past that first, we're going to fail. But once you get past it, you grow. And then the next one's not so bad. And then as you make progress, you feel better. So I just think the whole process has been a learning experience. It's really been a lot of growth. And I've learned a lot about myself as well. And absolutely, I've gotten the no's, but I just kept pushing.
What made you not go the self-publishing route? I see a lot of people not even trying to get a book deal. I think a lot of it has to do with the fear of rejection or making an assumption it won't get accepted, and they go right to the self-publishing route. So what made you not take that path?
Yes, and I had that fear, but I personally felt like I should give each route a try, because I didn't know what would be the best fit. And another part of it, honestly, was I thought, let me try to see if I can, I reached out to literary agents, and I did not end up going that route, ended up finding a publisher. But I thought if I could find a publisher that fit, that, the editing side of it, like I needed an editor. I had not, purchased an editor or hired an editor before I submitted. I did a lot of editing myself, but I think there were a lot of things, creating a cover. I thought if I could find somebody to help me with that, then that could be huge. But I knew that even if I couldn't, I would self-publish, and I would, look into those things and do those things, on my own. So I think just for me, it was just kind of opening up the doors, giving each door a try, and seeing which one made most sense. And in the end, going with a publisher ended up working out well, and it made sense for me.
Oh, I love this, you guys. And that's the difference. She is no different. I am no different than any of you guys listening. We took different action. We actually took action, and we kept going, and we never gave up. Do you think I was told yes all the time? Certainly not. I get told no now. I mean, but we keep going. And like she said, it's one step at a time, and the way that it is supposed to unfold will unfold. So where can people buy your book now that I know everyone's like, well, now I have to read this book. So where can they buy it?
Well, it is available online at most common retailers. So you can find it online at Amazon. You can find it at Walmart.com, Target.com, BarnesandNoble.com, BooksAMillion.com. My publisher, MascotBooks.com, you can find it there, as well as if you go to my blog, theysayparenting.com, there is a section on the book, and it shows you all the links as well. That's going to be the best place to find it, any of those online retailers.
So whether you're a parent and you want to read They Say Not Your Average Parenting book, or a new mom or a mom that has been going through it, what a great gift for like the upcoming holiday season to add to another gift you're giving them, or just to give someone like your hairstylist or just any mom. It doesn't matter, if they're a mom of toddlers or the moms, the kids are grown up. I think that this is a book that applies to more than just parenting. It applies to that whole, like, there is no right way, and listening to what they say is going to get you in a heap of trouble and feel discontent and shame. And we don't want any of that. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your truth and your journey. I'm so impressed with what you've done, and I'm thrilled that you shared it with all the people.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you helping me get my story out there. And I love your podcast. I'm so thankful that you had me on.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you soon, babe.
Okay, bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.